Each year, just outside the Mercury Gate at the Nevada test site, hundreds of people from all over the world gather to protest the United States' commitment to nuclear bomb testing. For most, the protest extends to nuclear use of all kinds. This land is Western Shoshone land. Corbin Harney, a Western Shoshone spiritual leader, has been the grandfather to this gathering for decades. It is his people's land that has been bombed more times than any other land on Earth. The United States has exploded over 1,000 bombs here, and while presidents point their fingers at other countries for testing on their soil, the United States continues to test here in what is referred to as a subcritical test. Clearly, the U.S. is refining nuclear warfare in a more deadly way. Inside a mobile museum at this gathering, here are some of the highlights from their talk.
I'm Gillian from England. I'm involved in a peace initiative which started really in Bosnia, but it spans the world now, and that's why I'm sort of here. It's more looking at conversion of minds, well, not minds but hearts. That's the angle from which I'm coming. Because the fruits of the tree are one thing, but we don't know what the root is, and if we can get to the root, which is possibly greed, but what's behind greed, if we can actually cut the root, then the tree will die and another blossom, a place can come for something else. I think it's a miracle that there hasn't been an accident yet and that there hasn't been a terrorist. I think we're on borrowed time and we have to find the root of the problem. So not that we haven't become truly human. We aren't truly human. Truly human is compassionate, all those things, heart, from the heart. But how we get there, it's the task and the opportunity, but I'm looking at that. So it's to activate people's hearts, really. Look, creep up on people. Humour. Find the weak link. Find the point, the pivotal point. Because the bigger the inertia, the mass, the bigger the problem in a way. If we can just find the point of turning, the easier it can collapse. So I'm looking for those points.
I'm Sharifa Halilovic and I come from Bosnia, from Sarajevo. I'm interested in peace, in fact, in the lasting peace, not only in Bosnia but all over the world. So I'm here for the first time, and I think as long as such nuclear tests are done and the arms are made and produced, there will not be that peace. And that's what Gillian was talking about, that change of heart. I mean, when that change of heart happens, then people will not be interested in that anymore. But how to come to that point, I think nobody knows exactly how, but what is important is to connect with people from all over the world, the people who feel similar, and somehow I think that together we are the great force, and it empowers each of us, because what is happening in the whole world, somehow people feel powerless. They feel, many of them who could do a lot feel, oh, what can I do? And they don't do anything. So we don't use the power that we have, so we have to change something about that. In a minute you just lose everything, and you see how you can lose your life very easily, and you just start thinking about what life is about, and you see the beauty of life. And that's what we somehow should talk more about it.
My name is Red Moon Song. I chose that name about 8 years ago and chose to wear red, white, and black all the time to remind me of the sacred energy of Goddess, the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone, to remind me in a culture that is designed and a military model to a great extent that doesn't include me and my values as a grandmother, that this is a consistent reminder to myself and to my friends that my name and my clothing and my whole life ideally moves into a pattern that I want to express so that it's immediately recognizable. I'm interested in sustainability. I'm a grandmother, and so I've been, especially the past few years, working with councils of grandmothers. The Hopis say when the grandmothers speak, the world will heal. And so I have to ask questions of my Native American grandmothers and other grandmothers all over the world. What is the role that I play as a grandmother in my tribe? What is the need of young people today? What are the skills that I have to offer? What is my role among them? And it was so interesting with people coming in here because I was going to say one of the most satisfying things that happened to me last year at the annual Rainbow Gathering was that we had a council of grandmothers, we had a council of grandfathers, we had a council of elders, and this was the first time this has happened in the 25 years of the Rainbow family. And we set it up with the elders in the center and other people sitting around the outside and listening, which is how traditional cultures dealt with passing on information, where the older people would speak among themselves and the young people could listen or walk away or nurse their babies or whatever, and that's how wisdom was passed down in a way that's not threatening or not intrusive, but a way that you come in and you hear as much as you can hear then, and you go away and you listen and think about it, and then you come back. So part of what I try to do as an activist is to go to different actions, whether it's here at the Nevada Test Site or whether it's at Ward Valley or whether it's at the Rainbow Family or whether it's at the Women's Music Festival or wherever it might be. And I encourage people to live sustainably because most of the people I encounter are visionaries, are very hard workers, and I appreciate that. But if we don't live sustainably now, and who is it that said that there is no way to peace? Peace is the way. So what does that mean about how we eat, about how we use waste products, about how we recycle, about how much energy we use? So always I am thinking, and I became a vegetarian primarily because I realized that putting 17 pounds of protein into a cow and getting 1 pound of protein out was an inefficient conversion ratio that kept the price of grain up on the world market, so poor people all over the world could not even afford grain. So when I found that out, and I found out that I could change my eating habits, and I could therefore change dramatically my relationship to people all over the world, then I became more spiritual because I began to understand that my spirituality was recognizing that everyone in the world, all the plants, the animals, the people, the clouds, are my sisters and brothers, and that I can affect what's going on with everyone all over the world directly by how I choose to use my energy every single day. And I recognize that our energy, 24 hours a day of it, is so precious and so unique to each one of us. And if we are not careful, very careful about where we put it, it's being used by others, always. Whenever we don't know where our energy is being focused, someone else is using that energy, the dominant system generally. So as a woman, I've studied a great deal about societies, especially indigenous and pre-patriarchal societies where the resources were controlled by women, and that's true of indigenous cultures in this country today. And so the women controlled the resources, so their children were fed first, because that's how women run their cultures when they have control of resources. And men in systems where women control the resources are very, very different in their attitudes and their behavior towards women. And so I really encourage everybody, both women and men, to constantly look at where their resources are being expended and who and what are they supporting, either consciously or unconsciously. So when I go around to different groups, I encourage people to eat well. I encourage them to sleep well. I encourage them to recreate and to pray and to do circles around their food. I encourage them to take the time to be parents or to work with other people who have small children, because learning to live sustainably in family is the way most of the people in the world live. Most of those countries that we call, quote-unquote, third world countries are places where there is a role for grandmothers, and there is a role for children, and there is a role for family life in the daily life of the people. And it's only what I've seen in the more industrialized countries where people are working at such a frenetic pace for what? For what? for more things, for enrichment for their children, I don't know. But it's in those countries that I see the most alienation, the most suicide, and the most mental health problems. The World Health Organization says that within the next 10 years, depression will be the major cause of illness in the world. And so when people here that have spoken before are talking about global economics and the powerlessness that people feel all over the world, what I'm seeing is that depression and that lack of control, that feeling that what can we do against these giant multinational corporations. And so I encourage people to take the time to recreate, to take the time to vision of where their energy can go, because the whole idea of the 100th monkey to me can occur at any second. And it may occur with more people becoming conscious, or it may occur with less people becoming more conscious. So I encourage people who have some consciousness already to get as radical as possible.
Our love. We love the way our government spends our love. It's about love. Oh, about love. It's about love. Oh, about love. We love our arms, we arm the world with love. We love our filthy industry, we love the way we rape a tree. We love the sludge we pour into the sea. It's about love, about love. It's about love. Spice in the sky, lasers that fly, taxes by our love. You're on the streets of the red, white, and blue. Eyes are looking at me and you. Hunger is the teacher, cold is the rule, teaching the lessons of love. About love. Oh, about love. It's about love.
I'm Susan Lee Solar, and my project is to take a mobile anti-nuclear museum which focuses on radiation and health and on different communities that are being affected by different parts of the nuclear chain, and explain how the process from uranium mining through creating nuclear power in reactors, creating and testing nuclear weapons, disposing of waste from all of those things affects people, and try to tell it through stories of individuals who've been affected so that people can see the images and put the information together. And I've been doing it for about 3.5 years, and it's been a pretty amazing experience. The nuclear industry know that citizens are watching, and we're not going to let them get away with what they're trying to do, and that we're not afraid of the government or the nuclear industry. That's the purpose of this. Last year at this time there were about 54 people sitting in this space with snow coming down and all the tents flattened around us as we planned the blockade of Highway 95. And I think that was definitely one of our better moments here. This is the way it looked, and those are some of the trucks and buses that were caught in this 4.5-hour blockade of all 4 lanes out there going in both directions. And we had a lot of incredible support people. It was my first ever locking down to anything. And this picture shows the devices that we were locked down into, which were big concrete-filled PVC pipes in part, and then just regular metal pipe lock boxes when we ran out of the big concrete-filled ones. These were about 4 feet long. They were extremely heavy, so they had to come with earth-moving equipment to move us off the road, and we were still, some of us at least, were still locked into those things. This is some of what we caught. We caught 2 radioactive trucks on their way to the test site over here to dump this low-level radioactive waste into the ground above the aquifer over on western Shoshone land. So it was a real training for me, and I have great admiration for the people who do it on a regular basis.
I'm Allison Yana. About 10 years ago when I was training, in my teacher training, and it was, to me, an incredible experience. And one of the, so many memorable things, but one of the things that I remembered and I was describing to the students as we were studying, starting with DNA and then mutations and then on to radiation and indigenous people and so on. I was just relating to them some of the experiences, and I think I told them about watching 2 people who were in their 60s or 70s and helping them get through the fence as they went to get arrested, and how it was so moving to me, and I just had to give thanks, and I just had to follow that example.
Erin Rogers is my name. I think that when the United States created the first nuclear bomb, they were saying that they were trying to protect U.S. citizens from whatever. And what's happened instead is that they've ended up bombing the U.S. public over and over again, and jailing and incarcerating people here and wiping out democracy, which is what they were saying that they wanted to protect. And that the way that we got started working in this is looking at how many women have breast cancer all over the world and in the United States from the nuclear industry, and how many people are sick and dying, and especially communities of color and Native American people that are being dumped on and poisoned.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Wagner, and I'm here at the Nevada test site. And I was involved in the action earlier as a supporter for the people who were out there crossing the line. I was looking across at some of the guards that were over there and watching these human beings that, even though that they're in uniforms, they're watching everything that's going on, and they have to deal with us on a very real human-to-human interaction. And that is an interaction that's eliminated in bureaucracy, that is eliminated in our social democracy. And I think that they are themselves put in an incredibly difficult position because they have to hear the Sundance songs that we're singing. They have to hear everything that's going on from the people's perspective. All of the things that we do may seem kind of strange, like the ferries and, you know, people flying across over to the other side. I think that they have to at least absorb a little of that. And I think that it needs to get bigger. It needs to go into the backyards of the bigger cheeses. I think that if President Clinton had to be out here at the Nevada test site, if he was required to be there on the front line as a representative of the people to meet with the indigenous peoples and their leaders and come face to face, I think that there would be a different interaction. I think that our policies would be required to shift just because he has to be completely real about what he's experienced. And I'd really like to see people get more involved in that face-to-face interaction, and it has to be nonviolent.
Well, I'm Ellen Dietrich from Germany, and I'm here the 5th time at the Nevada test site. And I'm here because I started 39 years ago to struggle against the nuclear threat. And I'm very concerned about several things going on right now. Talking about Germany, and I think Germany is one of the countries, we have 17 nuclear power plants, and as any other country, we don't have any kind of solution to where the nuclear waste should go. And so what we see now is along the line connected to the nuclear issue, how the government tries to change democracy, to cut democracy. We had 2 times change of constitution in the last year, which was connected to the nuclear question, because I think Germany is the movement in Germany is a little further than it's in the United States. For instance, when we have transports of the containers, they're called Castor in Germany, Castor containers which take the nuclear waste from the nuclear power plants to the intermediate storage. So the last times the government needed about 30,000 police people to protect the train from people who are protesting. So that means we start at the place where the nuclear waste is produced at the nuclear power plants in different places, and all along the road, 300, 400 kilometers or even longer, people are chaining themselves to railroads. They cut the electric wire on top of so that the train can't go. They have started to undermine the roads, that if the customer needs to be transported on the roads, so the transport cannot go. Women have started to put liquid soap on the streets, so this was a very nice action. The police cars couldn't move anymore.
That's great.
And afterwards the police had to clean the streets, so it was very funny to see all the police people with wiping off the liquid fluids. But there's another very important something is very, very important to say, which is very different here and in Germany, and it's particularly in this movement. It's really the people who are the movement. It's the teachers, the women in the kindergarten, it's the dentist, it's the people who own the shops. So in this area where the intermediate storage is, the struggle is going on for 22 years. First you can see people are discussing this issue by paying advertisements in the newspaper. You have pages and pages of newspapers where people give their opinion. So they're really discussing this stuff. So, and then they say, we are calling the day when the Castor shipment is coming Day X, because we never know when it's coming, but it's coming sometime. Day X, everything will be closed. Every shop will be closed. Every doctor will not work. All the schools are closed. Everyone is in the street, and especially the farmers are very strong involved. And this has to do because this area is an area where many farmers have started to do organic farming long years ago, because it was right at the border to the former DDR between the two Germanys, and there was almost no industry, so many farmers started to grow food for babies, etc. And then the government decided they want to have the intermediate storage for, and probably the final storage also for nuclear waste there. So the farmers, who are mostly conservative in Germany, but they stood up, and they have so radicalized. It's unbelievable. I mean, what they're doing. So, for instance, they chain their tractors together so that the police can't move anymore. They are really into the struggle. They host people who come from other parts of Germany, that they can stay there and so on. Or the children. The police needed places for them to stay in the schools or so. So the children just went in the schools and occupied the schools. They didn't want the police coming to the schools. So, and the farmers then surrounded the schools with their tractors so that the children would be protected. Also, it's really, it's a kind of basic democracy. So, discussing about through newspapers, etc. And there's another very important difference between the United States and Germany. This is the whole media system. We do have much better information. I would die if I would live in the United States and would have to relate to the information service which are provided here. When I come to an international airport, like wherever, you will not find one foreign newspaper here. There's no national newspapers of the what we would call the progressive movement, alternative, feminist, left movement, whatever. So it's very. This is very different, and even the general programs in television in Germany, they keep track of these things.
We know that this contamination is affecting all of our life, all over our Mother Earth. We know that the cancer rate has gone up to epidemic proportions because of the fallout in the air, in the atmosphere, in the water. We know that peoples all over the earth are suffering and dying needlessly by the thousands. Peoples, animals, plant life, water, all of our Mother Earth. Where she's suffering, we need to end this kind of contamination and this kind of abuse, this rape. We need to think ahead. Our ancestors thought ahead so that all of us could have clean air to breathe, so that we could have a clean fire to use, so that we had water that would sustain us and cleanse us, so that our Mother Earth would be good and provide everything that we need. We're not thinking ahead. We're not thinking of your children. We're not thinking ahead, all of us on this planet here. We're thinking of ourselves now in this greed.